Hi everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Tale of Four Gamers. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello. We're back. We've got a new game to try out. A game we've never done before, so that's interesting. None of us have ever done it before, so genuinely starting a new game. We're going to be doing Warcry, Tale of Four Gamers Warcry, which is something we'll get into why we're doing that, but it's something we've been meaning to do for ages, which is really nice. This is Tale of Four Gamers. This is our fourth Tale of Four Gamers. So if you're new to Tale of Four Gamers, this is us. There's four of us. We'll build some armies in the tradition of Tale of Four Warlords, Tale of Four Gamers, which was a White Dwarf series many years ago. I think it still is. So over the next few months, we will be building a force for a game, painting it, and then playing it against each other to see what it's like, and we'll keep you up to date. You can also be involved if you like. The channel has a Patreon, and there are various levels on that Patreon. There's a Discord channel now, which people can get involved in. And as we go through this, if you want to build along or get some hobby motivation, then you can send us in photos and join in with the gang, and hopefully that will mean that you actually get round to playing Warcry this summer, because that's absolutely our intention. Anyway, let's get into it after this. Oh, hello everybody. Lovely to see your faces again.
Hello.
Hello. So yeah, how is everybody? What have we all been doing since the last Tale of Four Gamers ended, which was Heresy, just over a month ago?
Is it that long ago?
It is,
wow,
yeah.
That's a big gap for us then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We did the Heresy event at the end of February, and then we had our last catch up the week after that, and now it is the start of April. We are ready for summer.
Mostly taking a break, bit of Shadespire.
Yeah, a bit of Shadespire. Heresy was a big one. I felt like a break after that. I feel like this is a bit of a break after that. Thousands of points.
Now that I don't have to do Heresy stuff anymore and don't have the pressure of having to do Heresy stuff, I've made sure to do some Heresy stuff.
Oh yeah, you've been doing Heresy bits and bobs.
Yeah. I haven't got anything finished for it yet, but I've got a few bits and pieces ready to add to my 2,000 points and start pushing towards 3,000 and make the 2,000 point list a bit better and stuff.
I mean, I've got a little short list of things, because we're going to play Heresy at the Warhammer Fest that's coming up at the end of the month. So there's a little. I think me and Gary both have a little list of things that we never got round to finishing in time for our event. We'd like to get done.
Yeah,
Bobbie, you've got a fantastic new job that unfortunately means you don't have much time for gaming.
Yeah. My new job is taking up a lot of what was previously hobby time. I have still done some work on some Heresy bits, but those are my very angry world eaters.
Yeah, we saw it in the last update.
Yeah,
and just general. I've been doing a lot more sitting down and just building kits. Not a lot of painting.
Well, look,
often the trap, but
hopefully this one will be, a more sedate, less panicked challenge than let's get 2,000 points of Heresy ready in a few months. It's a nice game. None of us have ever played it. So yeah, if you don't know, Warcry is it's the Age of Sigmar skirmish game, basically. Same size as all the other skirmish games like Kill Team and Necromunda. It's like 10 to 15 models, I think. And it's basically the same sort of models as you get in Age of Sigmar. You can, in fact, use Age of Sigmar models if you want. It looks to be quite a tight, fun, rules-light game, which I think is exactly what we need after the Horus Heresy.
Yeah,
the opposite of that. So yeah, has anyone? Yeah, I think it was an interesting one. I think to choose that the impetus is, if anyone's wondering, it's Games Workshop's fault. It's the influence of Games Workshop sending us stuff, and us just spending a load of money on Heresy armies. I think a few of us had some Warcry bits and bobs. We'll go through as we go through everyone's reveal of what they're going to be doing. We'll go through and see how into Warcry people were. But I know a few of us had Warcry boxes, and we'd always meant to do or had done bits of terrain or stuff like that. Then Games Workshop actually sent me a copy of the current scenario pack, Blood Hunt, which is one with ninja vampires and dog fans, corn dog fans. We thought, well, why don't we do that? And finally, after probably a couple of years now of suggesting that we were going to do it, why don't we actually do Warcry? And what it means is we've actually got quite a lot of gangs already just sitting there in starter sets. So as long as we dole them out between ourselves, we've got, we've probably got most of the stuff we need. Between us, I think we counted up, and like between me and Gary, we had like 8 gangs, all just sitting there on a sprue because we bought starter sets and never then got round to playing them. We've divided them up. We know what we're doing. We've all picked some. We are doing some of the ones from Blood Hunt, and we're doing some much older ones, and we're doing some ones that aren't from any of the starter sets. And I think we've all got sort of backup plans for doing other things. But yeah, that's how we've ended up getting around to it. None of us have played it, right?
No.
So all we know about this game, this is completely fresh, is from us quickly reading a bit of PDF online.
Yeah, I mean, I've checked out a couple of YouTube channels, which are Warcry channels, to see, like how the game plays by getting loot, and it's all, the combat seems to revolve around the dice and getting doubles and triples and quads.
Yeah, we are all coming to this totally new with very minimal research. So yeah, we're gonna let's see how that goes. I think this is gonna be quite fun. I've been looking forward to getting into something like this for a while. I don't know about anyone else, but one of the things obviously that everyone knows we've been doing is a lot of underworlds. And for me, doing underworlds means that I've been starting to paint more Age of Sigmar-y fantasy models than I've been doing for ages. And so the idea of like actually doing a fantasy game, it's been a while.
There is a nice little jump as well. That most Underworlds teams can be brought into Warcry, so you've already got half a team already.
Yeah.
Points for.
Some of them can go directly in, and others you can. I think I read somewhere. I haven't had a chance to look into this properly, but there's something called Bladeborn rules.
Yeah.
But I think they don't advance in the same way or something, maybe. But I think I'm not absolutely sure that those Bladeborn rules are out for Warcry 2 yet.
Yeah, it's a bit murky as to whether or not they're valid. They haven't really declared it or something. Everywhere you look, you get conflicting information. Is it valid or not for Warcry 2?
And this is something that I haven't looked into at all, because obviously we all have experience playing Necromunda, but I had completely forgotten that Warcry could be played as a campaign where your gang get better. Yeah, I didn't realise that.
Which I always find to be a fun thing, personally.
I don't think that's in the free rules. I think you actually have to buy the physical book to get the campaign rules. They're the one thing they're sort of holding back on.
Do you have them in the box set you got though, Ian?
No, because this is interesting. The box set I've got isn't one of the. At the moment, there's no Warcry starter set available.
Okay.
So the way they sell it, I just went through this on the weirdly one of the cheapest games to get into to a point. The way they sell it is essentially the core book is a book you can buy. The core basic rules just for playing a normal game are a free download PDF, and then those boxes contain, because part of the game is the mission cards, and the mission cards and layouts are tied to a specific terrain set. The big boxes you get, the starter sets, are essentially a terrain set and 2 gangs and all their cards, and then you just download the PDF or buy the rulebook if you want to play campaigns.
Okay.
So in theory,
we can try it out and see if we like it, and then decide whether to buy the campaign rules though after all.
Yeah, it's also like if you have friends that already have terrain, then you just need to buy a rulebook and a gang, or just about download PDF and a gang if you're not going to play a campaign. Just to play skirmish games.
So I've got loads of terrain in my life in general, but would I be able to use terrain that I already own to play Warcry then?
I get mixed results again when I look online. So some people say to do the full proper Warcry, you shuffle a deck of cards with the pre-set terrain builds, and then other people say, but it always looks like quite an empty table, like not really enough happening. So they prefer to narratively add more.
Oh, I see.
Is this one of those things where there's an element of like, bollocks to you, I'm doing it my way?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think the same with like some of the old, like we're definitely going to be using terrain sets from Warcry 1, right? Because both me and Gary own multiple boxes of terrain from Warcry 1. So I think there's definitely going to be a bit of, you definitely need a card deck. So I wonder if there's a world, Russ, where if you had terrain that was vaguely like one of the sets, you could get the card deck, and then for that set, and then you'd have missions, you'd have vague layouts you can roughly do, and that's enough to play the game.
Yeah.
I think some of the terrain sets are also terrain that Games Workshop's produced for other games, like the Undead,
the cemetery
mausoleums, the cemetery set that they've been selling since before Age of Sigmar.
I've got like 2 or 3 of that.
So I have the Korsrak mausoleum, And when you put the contents of just that box on the board, it is quite sparse. And it also, it's one of the odd ones, like it looks like it was shoehorned in because it doesn't have one of the main features of Warcry, which is multiple levels. Yeah. It's just lots of little line of sight blocking and barriers. So maybe it's good to have an alternative board which doesn't play like the other boards, but it doesn't have the I'm climbing up on the ruins like sort of Necromunda, like Mortimi sort of.
Yeah.
There is that feel to it that, like, I guess the thing I've always assumed was it's Age of Sigmar's version of Kill Team. But in fact, it feels like actually everything you read, it feels like more it's Age of Sigmar's version of Necromunda, but with the complexity of rules of Kill Team, not of frickin' Necromunda.
I think it's a much more narrative light because the campaign, well, I read a bit of the Warcry 1 campaign. I have not read the second one. But it seemed like at the end of the game, you basically progressed your path to glory. And after 8 games, you were done. That was it. Sort of like there was an end in sight. It's not a forever campaign.
Actually, you know? I mean, which is because that, to be honest, when you're playing Necromunda campaigns, 8 games is about 8 to 10 games. And you're like, that's about enough for a campaign. When you get to like absurdly stupid 20 or 30 games in, all the gangs are way too powerful anyway.
Yeah, you can reach a stage where you're like, why are we still doing this?
Everyone's
this is like, we might as well play a game of 40k at this stage.
Yeah, or like, for me, the fun of Necromunda is that it is a load of idiots with stub guns.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's actually more fun when everyone's missing.
So the other thing with this, I mean, again, because I've never played, I'm just sort of what I think it is. You're always limited, as far as I'm aware, to 1,000 points. Your gang never gets bigger. It's very balanced in that respect. But I think what happens is when you get certain achievements during the narrative campaign, you'll gain access to things like, your gang now has got access to be able to tame beasts. So now you can take some of the wild inhabitants of the 8 peaks and have 2 of the dogs in your gang. But that would
but then you take less other things on the day to make up for it, sort of thing.
Yes, so you don't actually end up with like an extra 2 dogs worth of points. You'll drop 1 or 2 fighters to put those dogs in.
I see.
And I think it's the same with allies. So even if you want to buy like a big Formord Crusher, you probably have to drop 3 fighters to put him in. You can always play that as a one-off game, but in a campaign, you will always start without the access to that. You'll have to do a challenge to go and, bind one to your army.
Go and do a narrative side quest.
Yeah, you go, say, today I want to go off to the crypt of the ghouls, and I'm going to try and tame some ghouls or something like that. I don't know.
I'm up for that. That sounds fun. It sounds... One of the things that I haven't played a game like this since Frostgrave was the last time I sort of played this sort of small-scale skirmish fantasy game.
Yeah.
Frostgrave also a game which works best until you get to a certain point and everyone's too powerful.
Yeah, when the wizards are too stacked.
There were too many games I played where 1 or 2 of the people that I played against, it was like, right, even sometimes it was like, well, obviously, you're 6 levels higher than me, so we shouldn't play these 2 war bands. We should play 2 different ones. But there was also like, they're 1 level ahead of me, but they've like crunched the rules in such a way that they know how to make a warband, which is probably like twice as good as mine before they even got 2 levels ahead of me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, your warband just got better and mine just got significantly worse. Why did I turn up?
Frostgrave definitely had the gentleman's agreement to not be a dick, because you could just stack all your abilities into push and stuff like that and just push people off the board constantly.
Right.
Well, it had that element as like a desired part of it, but not necessarily did everyone actually play the game that way.
I think that's like a lot of games. It depends on your play group, doesn't it? And what people are wanting to get out of it.
Yeah, but obviously we're playing Warcry, so this is going to be very, very friendly. And definitely not the sort of game we all min-max. But I mean,
it's going to be lots of trash talk, and then everyone fails to. Their dice will betray them, and nothing will come of it.
There's also, I think, going to be a fun amount of because none of us know what we're doing. Almost certain that we'll all find that something's way too powerful and be really shocked by how powerful it is, because all 4 of us are playing wrong in the same way.
Yeah.
And then we'll have been doing this for 3 months, and someone will chime up on Discord being like, you don't actually get to do that against them. So, if people want to join in on there, the more people we have trying to figure this game out from complete scratch, the better. Like, there's an element of this where, like, it's a Warhammer game. A quick brief look at the rules, and you're like, yeah, that's Warhammer.
Yeah.
Fine.
They've got a movement stat. They've got a ballistic skill stat. That's that. Really.
They've candidly future-proofed it in that they've got it's all symbols, so they don't have to make it in 10 different languages.
So it does have symbols for like if we look at the fighter card, it's got like a symbol for which weapon you're using. Is it a sword or a spear? And then it's got its distance, and then how much damage its strength it is, how much damage it will do on a regular hit. And crits are a big thing in this. So if you get 6s, you use the higher number. I think you're really trying to get like 3 or 4 hits to take a fighter out. So fighters aren't going to be killed mostly one-shotted. Most combats are going to be 3 or 4 sort of stabs before something's dead.
Which is fine when there's so few models in the army anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to be too worried about moving forward because you're going to get charged first and remove your models, and then you've lost. You will get a chance to fight back.
Well, look, what we should do then is probably go through and reveal what the hell we've got and what we're going to do. So I'm going to start because you definitely know the most of all of us, Gary. Drop Chloe the cat. Getting down to business here. Drops Chloe the cat and is now ready for Warcry talk. What had you done? But you've got the most of stuff, right? You bought the most stuff.
Right, so being that this was going to be one of the side games, I had the standard Games Workshop FOMO that it was going to sort of sell out and stop being made. So at the start, I was buying like 1 copy of every box and just putting it in the corner. Like, I'll get round to that later. So I did that for like a few of the terrain sets that came out and the Catacombs box and stuff. And I still, I was buying the expansions when I've not played the game yet. This isn't the only one of their games I've done that with. I've got like quite a lot of Adeptus Titanicus sitting in the corner as well, going, all on sprue, going, Tale for Gamers. Thing with the Warcry was, it looked like a good way to get terrain sets. Even if I was never going to play Warcry, if I duplicated some of the boxes, I would be able to do a regular Warhammer board out of it. So so you painted up my 2 defiled ruins?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so you painted up both of those, really, nicely sort of tan with lots of rusted bronze. So, and then I also had the Corpse Rack Mausoleum from Frostgraving. So that was a fully painted terrain set already. So when I bought the box, I just threw all the ones I'd already painted into the box with those ones.
Yeah.
So there was loads of terrain ready for us to play this game. We just never painted a gang and played it.
And then I've got, obviously, we've got other boxes, right? So you've got a couple of starter sets worth. You've got the original starter set and the Catacombs. So we've got plenty of terrain, but just never actually done it. So, Gary, for the first reveal of the show, what warband will you be doing?
So I decided I wasn't going to use any of the ones I'd already got because we were deciding on Warcry when we were finishing up Horus Heresy at Warhammer World.
Yeah,
I really liked the Legionnaires,
the Ankh-Morpork City Watch.
Yeah, so and the weird thing is, I bought them just going because we've seen the memes and stuff like these are basically City Guard. And my plan was I was going to cut off all the horns. I was going to make them into. When I looked at the cards and I looked at all the stuff, everything's called horn helms and horn shields and like basically and everything else which I was planning to add into it is covered in horns, which is I also bought the Centurion, who's got massive horns, and I've got the Warhammer thingy lady.
Maybe
she's going to go in. Mibilor is going to go in, and I really think that maybe she was intended to be part of this gang all along, and then got sidetracked into. Because if you look at like this guy's shield, he's got like the Be'lakor sort of icon.
Yeah.
Like this big skull is the Be'lakor icon, like they're hiding in plain sight. And this guy's got it on his belt. That's like the Be'lakor's skull icon hiding in plain sight. And if you look at the top of her, where is the thing?
Yeah.
She's basically waving the Be'lakor icon around. So I think she was always intended to be in this gang. So so she's going in.
Great. So you've got
because there's horns everywhere. They're keeping the horns. I'm not clipping off that many horns. The leader's got 15. I looked at it. I was just like going, "That's insane." I'm not doing City Guard. I'm going to do Chaos proper.
You're doing Chaos Legionnaires. You've got some extra models to move in as you get better. And,
I've got loads of stuff from the Fimmer army that never get done. The Formoid Crusher was going to be the weapons loader, and I've got like that great ogre with a spear and a shield because I was going to give him a head change, and so I've got all these models which I can push in and just get them out of the pile of shame.
I mean, and Chaos is like that because you can throw loads of things into it. There's loads of stuff you'll have.
It is all set in the 8 points. Well, Warcry 1 was set in the 8 points. So yeah, it's very heavily Chaos. Basically, they're like the Space Marines of Warcry. They get everything.
Is it like the equivalent of like Stormcast, but for Chaos?
No, it's even like I would say it's even more like it's because Chaos is basically where the land is. Every gang is a faction of Chaos. So the vast majority of allies can swing into any of the factions as long as they're Grand Alliance Chaos. Like when you look at the PDFs, I think Grand Alliance Chaos has got like 3 PDFs.
Right, worth of stuff.
And then like Destruction gets 1.
Yeah.
Like Death is 1, Destruction is 1, Order is 2, I think. But Chaos is 2 or 3. I think it's 3, like you said. Yeah.
There's a lot of order factions.
Yeah.
So you can mix and match a lot of those allies across the different
warbands
teams.
Yeah. Cool, brilliant. Well, there we go. So you're looking forward to a bit of war crying and getting all the terrain out. Bobbie, have you had any involvement with the old war cries?
Not really. I'd kind of glanced at it. Sort of played a little bit of Age of Sigmar, but not a huge amount. I've got like a mixed Khorne army, which is sort of demons and blades of Khorne and some slaves to darkness Khorne bits and some beasts of chaos as well. I've kind of got it's just anything. Or it's all red. They can all fight together. Kind of army. And I've got a few. I bought like the Dominion set for Age of Sigmar, but I've never really got that into Age of Sigmar.
Right.
The Warcry's kind of passed me by because it's like, it's another Age of Sigmar. It actually looks really good. Now I've sat down and gone through I've read through the PDFs, well, skim read as we all do.
Yeah.
It seems quite an interesting system. Like it's not. As we've said, it's not too heavy on rules, but it seems like there's quite a lot of flavour in the rules. Like the different gangs and different characters get different abilities. So you roll your double. That means a different thing for each player because they've got different things they can spend it on. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think a few of us are in that position of like, because it's so chaosy. Yeah, we've all got a load of spare models we can potentially fold in if we like this game.
There is that as well.
So what are you going to go with as your main gang?
Well, you should know. You've posted them to me.
Hey.
I'm going to be playing Dark Oath because I don't know. I thought the models look nice.
Dark Oath is Conan-style semi-naked people, right?
Yeah, they're kind of a lot like old Chaos Marauders, but much nicer sculpts than Chaos Marauders have ever had. That's kind of my influence. I really liked the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle Chaos Marauders, the old metal ones. So I'm going to be trying to get some of that sort of vibe into the paint jobs on them. I'm not doing too many conversions this time. They're going to be built almost exactly out of the box.
Yep.
Because I'm doing a lot of conversions recently, and I just want to get a simple build.
What skin tones are you going to paint them with? Because I think
a real mix. Because I've got a really nice paint set from the Army Painter. They did a skin tone set that's got I can't remember, but it's a lot of different skin tones, and you can blend between them, obviously. And between that and contrast contrast paints for various skin tones, I've got a bit of a plan on how I want to do them. That's hopefully going to look nice and not take too much time, but we'll see how that goes.
Now they are a warband that lend themselves to a bit of diversity and not just being like you can do that with any army or warband, I suppose. But sometimes the sculpts are so similar to each other that it would almost look odd to give them loads of different skin tones.
Yeah.
Whereas the Dark Oath, it's almost like they've been sculpted with a bit of difference of skin tone in mind. To some extent. And they're doing that more in the more recent sets anyway for other things as well. But it's one of the first things where it felt like they don't all need to have the same skin tone as each other.
And they've got a lot of like scarification and brands by the looks of things. But I also want to have a go trying to paint tattoos. That's something I've not ever really tried to do. But they're very naked. They've got not a lot of clothes, so I want to try and use some of that space to try something new.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, lots and lots of skin does terrify me a bit. But yeah, it's a good way to force yourself to do it, isn't it?
I think I'm also going to add in some Slaves to Darkness bits and pieces, mostly because there's 2 Dark Oath characters that are the Age of Sigmar ones, the Chieftain, and bring those. And then because those are leaders, I can then bring Chaos Warriors, I think. Because if you've got the leader of that faction, you can then bring warriors from that faction.
Is that how it works?
Wasn't part of the original fluff of Warcry, and I don't know if it still is, but wasn't part of the original fluff of Warcry that it was all like Chaos Warbands who hadn't yet proven themselves worthy to join Archaon's armies as actual Chaos Warriors or something? So it sort of works that the Dark Oath people would be trying to work towards, hey, sign us up, please, Archaon. We want to fight in your armies. Was that?
Yeah, that was the general idea.
Yeah, like they want to be ever chosen or something.
Yeah, it was something like competing. That, yeah. Like, there was a giant Thunderdome.
Right.
They're all competing to be noticed by Archaon and his Vanguard. So that's why they're all different. They're all journeyed from all over. There were all the different sorts of Chaos worshippers journeying from all over to...
And some of them lean towards Cornateness or Tzeentchianness, but then none of them actually are strictly one of those things, are they?
No, they're not that favoured by the gods to actually have the proper aspects of it. They're just kind of cosplaying as those factions.
That is a really... There is a huge amount of these that look like humans cosplaying as some chaos demons.
Right.
So some of the old gangs are really crazy, like the ones that are chopping bits of themselves off and stuff. Like the ones that look like birds.
Well, there's ones that are like, we worship the chaos in the form of a big snake.
Yeah, the Chaos Panthalon seems to be pretty wild out there in the peaks.
But also the idea that, like, I think the idea that you get in 40k a lot, which never brings up a lot, but this idea that, like, that's always been there with chaos, that a lot of worshipping of stuff is in fact just the chaos gods in disguise.
Yeah.
Like, so which is the whole 40k thing of, like, the emperor trying to stop religion, because he's like, I mean, 90% of the stuff people end up worshipping is in fact just some name for chaos. And therefore, because chaos is the thing that will give you something, worship it. So therefore...
That's a little bit like American Gods, isn't it? With the, deities gain power via... like
why are you doing things?
People wanting or worshipping their aspect.
Yeah, in 40k there aren't any really. It's slightly different in Age of Sigmar now, but in 40k there aren't any really real gods. So people worship all sorts of things, but chaos is this thing where if you worship these things in the warp, they might actually give you stuff. So inevitably, all religions end up being ways of worshipping chaos because that's the only thing that works.
Isn't it like sort of hinted that Be'lakor is a worshipper of Malal?
I think it might have been at some point, but I think Malal thinks
he's gotten pissed off of the 4 powers and he's now become an anti-god sort of worshipping thing.
One of those things that definitely does not exist and hasn't for 20 years, but everyone's still insistent that it's definitely in the lore somewhere.
If there's a hint on it, we sniff it out.
Everyone's like, it could be Malal.
But I'm not personally like a super Malal fan, the way some people are, but if like we, the public, want Malal, then a lot of the people inside of Games Workshop want it as well, and they can't officially make it happen, but they can keep inserting like little Easter eggs. So there's people working for Games Workshop but deliberately putting in Malal Easter eggs.
I'm with you, Russ. I find Malal to be the angry edgelord teenager of a faction of angry edgelord teenagers. I don't believe in any of you. Yeah.
Including myself.
Yeah, including me. I don't even exist. Yeah. Like,
I don't follow anyone's rules, not even my own.
But I'm sure someone will paint their, you could paint your Chaos Legionnaires black and white, Gary, and have them as...
Very good idea,
yeah.
Saying that mean stuff about Malal might have just lost you like 7 Patreon subscribers or something.
Yeah. Even my old hammer skewing followers. Oh well. Brilliant. So Bobbie and Gary doing very much the opposites. The most heavily armoured and the least armoured in any way of the faction.
I have also, I after saying I'd do them, I did a little bit of looking online, and apparently Dark Oath is kind of playing Warcry on hard mode. They're not considered to be very good, but I don't care.
I did see, like, there's a YouTube channel, I think it's called The Salty Sea or something. I'm probably getting that completely wrong. But he did a tiers list, and the Legionnaires are like solid middle C. And I'm like, I could have watched that video first before I picked one and gone for like an F or an A tier.
I haven't looked at anything to do with mine at all yet, but I'm sticking with them. I've already decided. And I don't have many other options. So we'll see what happens. Russ, have you had any involvement with Warcry yet?
Only since we started saying we're going to do this. Literally, my first involvement was, they look pretty. I'll do those ones. And then just like reading some of the stuff about Warcry since then. But it does turn out I do actually own several Warcry warbands already, purely by virtue of the fact I have a Nighthaunt army. So one of the things before we I haven't even played a game yet, but I have finished painting my Knight of Shrouds that I've put in our little document there. So that I can, if I want to, use him as my general. And I've also got like a Lord Executioner and a Guardian of Souls. So I've posted loads of my Nighthaunt back in the day on my Instagram. And between all of those, plus the ones I've now painted for Underpants.
That's quite a lot of stuff.
I've got like, I could pick a like 2 or 3 warbands. But I'm not going to do Nighthaunt for this.
No, because the idea for this was to just pick something, assemble it out of the box and bloody do it.
But the ones that I really liked were one of the sets that you got in, is it Bloodhunt it's called, isn't it?
Bloodhunt, yeah.
I really, really like the sort of samurai-ish looking, monkish looking vampire monks.
The Askurgan Trueblades.
They are, and I think they look fantastic. I think it's partly because, many years ago, I sort of got into Japanese history to the extent that I went and lived in Japan for a couple of years. And they sort of remind me of sort of temple monks / there's elements of samurai in their clothing. There's elements of, whole sorts of Sengoku Jidai era sort of Japanese stuff without actually, strictly speaking, looking completely Japanese.
I mean, the hair's pretty fucking anime too. Look at that hair. Look at those hairstyles.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
They definitely have a sort of clan look about them.
They do, yeah.
And a feudal sort of hierarchy going on.
Yeah, they've got that sort of whole wandering Ronin sort of vibe, some of them in terms of, they've got their sort of samurai robes. I mean, the shoulder pads look slightly samurai armor-ish.
And they've got a dog.
They've got a walking human dog, sort of an Oni demon sort of vibe to that as well. Yeah. I mean, overall, and I think then the recovered demon dog, he looks kind of cool as well. And he's got a very, like Japanese anime vibe. And I'm not a huge fan of Japanese anime itself, but it has roots still in all the mythology of Japanese history and Japanese woodblock art that I do love. So I just thought, I've got to do them, basically.
Right. Well, and which of course is a free gang, because I was sent it, and therefore you have got it. It's another from the gangs we already have. Only Gary spent some money so far.
Okay. I really like that gang that Russ has chosen. Like, I think they are probably one of the best of the season 2 gangs.
In terms of looks, definitely. So I've done a similar thing. I had to read about them, and they're apparently a fairly good gang. They're not like top tier, but they're, from what I've read, haven't watched any videos, but I've read a couple of websites that sort of suggest they're a solid B grade. I've literally already built them, as you've probably already got up on the screen at the moment, looking at them. And I've built them as they come out of the box, plus bought one extra one so I can have 2 of the regular dudes with swords and 2 with ropey bits. Yeah, right. And I don't know what I'll do in terms of adding extra stuff to them, but they are a death warband, so it's easy enough that if I wanted to, I could add in bits from. Yeah, they're vampires, so they come under death. I assume they come under death.
Yeah, I mean, they have this sort of elfish look to them that I was sort of a bit, dark elfy sort of. I wasn't actually entirely sure, but yeah, they are obviously vampires, aren't they?
Yeah. Which means I can include Sepulchral Guard models. I can include Nighthaunt models if I wanted to, and I don't. I could get some. What are those undead things that build themselves out of bone? What are they called?
Ossiarch
Bone Reapers. I don't actually like them, so I don't plan to include any. But could if I wanted to. But yeah, I could definitely, I could get some monsters if I wanted to. One thing that did disappoint me is that I'm going to shoehorn this into the show just because I want to put it in the show and I'm going to find a way of shoehorning it in. I recently repaired an old Ralpatha giant.
Yeah, I can see.
And technically, there's probably a unit I could include him as, but I don't think he really fits the aesthetic very well. Although, it's a nice excuse to get him up on the screen and say how much fun I had repairing him after someone savagely chopped off his arms. Probably won't make it into my Warcry gang, sadly.
He could be like a morning gull or something if you give him a nice pale blue colour.
I suppose I could. No, because I looked at that anyway, because I've got a Mongol, but they're not in the Warcry book.
Ah, that's a
so
shame.
Unless they've got rules for them somewhere else, because I was thinking, I could use my Mongol as a monster.
Yeah.
It would seem, because they definitely to me have a very Japanese mythology type vibe to them. But sadly, unless I can find the rules somewhere else, I don't know where they are.
And you're intending to paint so you did a Hexbane's Hunters, didn't you, as a test paint method?
So my plan with these is to do a sort of slap chop approach. So I did a practice slap chop, but I've renamed it a stipple chop. Instead of dry brushing, I did stippling. So obviously I've invented a totally new way of painting here.
Have you considered making a video about that?
But yeah, I should, shouldn't I? And make myself famous. No, more seriously though, I'm just copying. Was it MS Paints? Who was it invented Slap Chop?
Who popularised the term was Rob, Honest Wargamer Rob.
So anyway, I think that worked quite well. I was quite happy with how the models turned out, but they were slightly darker than I planned. But luckily it was okay because it was a Witch Hunter warband, which I feel works. But I'm going to do the same thing for these lot, but I'm going to do it I'm just going to make sure that the final colour before I start applying contrast paints is a bit lighter. And I'm going to do, mainly orange and turquoise. I'm going to do them.
Okay.
Opposite sides of the colour wheel, try and do two bold colours that are contrasting, and then do a pale skin and give that a sort of greenish, turquoise-ish, hint to that as well.
Okay. We've got heavily armored chaos, lightly armored chaos, and spooky vampires.
Yeah.
So I will do my bit then, I suppose. The only Warcry big product I bought was Red Harvest, which was one of the last Warcry 1 starter set, and that came with Dark Oath that Bobbie has now. That's the only thing I had. So I've got Red Harvest and Blood Hunt, which came with Askurgan True Blades that Russ has now, and Claws of Karanak, which is the people who really like corn dogs. I had a pretty basic desire for this. I wanted a gang that I could just assemble off the sprue and then paint. I wanted to be able to paint them in silly bright colours. And I think this is the general rule for all Age of Sigmar things, is you have to pick what you're doing. I'm certainly going to be picking everything I make based on how many cute bugs and critters I can put in the gang. It's all going to be based around which animals I can have. And that left me with a few decisions, because there's definitely you can have dogs in some of them, have Griffhounds in some of them, but mostly Chaos has a lot of we really enjoy this one animal sort of gangs. There's the people who love birds, people who love snakes, even orcs can have those piggy things they ride. But I have gone with the Tarantulos brood, the Spooderbrooder, who are people who love spiders. And they love lovely hairy spiders. They're big fans of hairy spiders. And they worship Chaos in the foot because it's got 8 legs. That's the number of Chaos legs. That's the Chaos leg number. So they're a big fan of spiders and they love spiders. So I'm going to be them, purely because it means I can do stupid things with any spider model I can get my hand.
All your entries now are going to have trigger warnings at the start of it.
Yeah, for spoodophobia. That's how this is going. That's my only goal. That I'm assembling them. My plans for painting them is to look at some pictures of spiders and find the stupidest coloured ones. I'm hoping, I'm going to do a bit of searching. I'm hoping I can find some resin manufacturer that makes little creepy crawlies that I can put on their bases. So I can get them really silly bases full of spiders that are all multicoloured.
They've got the endless spells. I don't know how useful they'll be.
Yeah. There's also I think you were mentioning, Gary, I haven't looked into this, but you can take a Mutalith Vortex Beast in Warcry. So I thought maybe getting the big spiky chaos thing from that and sticking it to the back of a giant spider and having a Mutalith Vortex spider. So that's the theme. Spiders are furry and weird. So on obviously the most chaotic insect. They're not technically an aren't they? Anyway, spiders. The theme is spiders, colourful spiders. They're all going to be spiders. Now,
Bravo.
I haven't looked into anything else. Anyone see where they sit in the tier lists?
No, I didn't notice actually.
Yeah, they haven't been played for a while.
Find
'Cause
out.
they came out. They were the other gang opposite the Dark Oath, Bobbie. So I don't know what they're like. I don't know what they can take. What I'm going to do is just assemble the kit I've got as they go, as they are, and then see where it goes from there. But yeah, the idea is, I think probably really stupidly brightly coloured spiders, and then the rest of them are like vaguely browny skin tone.
There does seem to be a pattern that if you take the 8 models you get in a starter gang, it will add up to pretty close to 1,000 with 0 additions. So I think like if you just paint that, you've got your gang, and then it's a case of if you want your spider, you'll be dropping out 3 or 4 people to put the mutilith spawn beast in.
I've just loaded up, while we're talking, I've loaded up a page about them, and it basically says, overall, this warband is really fun to play, but you're limited in their options. You need to be careful on placement, but you do have high movement that allows some wiggle room. Okay. So it sounds like they're, again, sort of a mid to low tier. I mean, I might be wrong. I'm just reading like 1 or 2 paragraphs from it here, but it seems like they're okay, but not great.
A lot of the missions seem to be about grabbing things like Frostgrave style and running away with it. So high movement rate is one of the key things for that.
The reason, part of the reason for thinking of this is in Heresy I did those White Scars Marines with what I thought was going to be really, really complex camo, like black and red black and white flecks on grey and things like that. It actually was quite easy to paint. There's a bit of me that's like, right, silly spider banded stripy things. Let's, if the rest of them are just wearing like bits of rag, and then I just paint a brightly coloured spider headdress and things, then fine.
Yeah, you've been pushing towards those patterns a lot. You did copy Russ's
the leopard skin.
Leopards for the.
I was about to mention you could just do leopard skin, but it doesn't really seem to work for spiders.
And there's no leopard.
There's no such thing as a leopard spider.
I did use your leopard skin recipe from your old 5th edition Chaos Army. I used
the original Taylor 4 Gamers.
I used it on Grizel's Arenae, which is the new Dark Elf Underworld gang, and on Lady Pat Butcher, who I went on. Lady Pat Butcher, the House of Pat Butcher. There she is, in her lovely leopard skin. So there we are. There we go. 4 gangs, all quite different, that we will be painting. I should probably explain how we're going to do this, because it's not going to be a long one, but we're probably going to be a bit longer than Underworlds. As people who've been watching Heresy will know, one of the things we've been doing is at the end of the episode, then reviewing things people have been sent in. That got a bit crazy when we were doing Heresy. We were getting like 50 submissions a week. So we're gonna. I've changed how the Patreon works and all that. Blah blah blah. So if you want to be part of this, this isn't going to be a hugely long one. But if you want to join in, our plan is build all these this month, probably paint them through May, and then play in June. Maybe we'll do some sort of thing where we get to play together. We don't know yet. We'll see if we get. Maybe by June we'll all have played so much and painted them that we'll be adding things to our gangs. Who knows? But the idea is, April, May, June gets us through summer, and then we've already got a few plans for after summer. We know that we're going to be doing an update to the 5th edition armies. We did way back when we started this. We might do a little update to Heresy things. If you want to be part of that, you can join the Patreon, and there's a tier where you'll always definitely be featured. And then I think we'll probably see who we get. We might then feature a selection of people from other tiers and things like that. And if you want to do that, then hopefully that will provide you with some impetus to join in. Obviously, we have no hobby progress to show this week because just announcing it, but we'll be back in a few weeks. And we'll see who's joined in and who fancies playing along. Maybe we'll get people who already know how to play the game, which would be really handy. But
knowing the rules is overrated.
We'll figure it out.
The fun is not knowing what you're doing.
Warhammer, how hard can it be?
Well, I obviously, don't know the rules for Horus Heresy despite playing quite a bit of it now, so, pretty hard, I suppose.
Yeah, still don't know how that works. A bit of a shorter one this time, but thanks, everybody. Thanks for embarking on a 4th Tale of 4 Gamers. And if anyone wants to join in, well, you can join in with us if you like. We will be back in 4 weeks, and we'll be sharing all of our... Oh, we need to think of a hashtag. Can we just use the hashtag Tale of 4 Gamers from now on?
I've always been doing TO4G.
We can do TO4G, or you can write it out if you're not cool enough to use the number 4. then you can write it out, or you can use TO4G. So we'll give progress as to how we're building these, and then in 4 weeks' time, we will return with hopefully some built gangs, enough that we maybe might be able to start playing a game. And yeah, see how you get on. So good luck, everybody, at the start of this new adventure. We were going to know a new game by the middle of summer. Right?
Sounds good.
I'll see you all in 4 weeks then.
All right.
Bye.